and the list goes on and on.
A lot of the attention to this law and a lot of the legal commentary on it goes to when and whether the government gets involved, interposes itself between the relations, the daily relations between citizens. Why is that a key fact here? When is the government in and when is it out?
Well, I mean, the whole point of having a human rights ordinance in our city is to have the government involved in preventing the kind of discrimination that our state laws do not prevent. So the involvement of the state or the involvement of the government itself is very much at play in our human rights ordinance. So that would immediately kick in the RFRA here in Indiana.
Curtis Smith, a lot of commentators have also paid a lot of attention to the fact that this began, the effort to get this law began after Indiana's leadership lost the battle in Indiana over same-sex marriage. Is there any significance to the closeness in time of those two events?
Just a little bit. The true impetus is the Supreme Court case and the growing importance of RFRA, a statute, and the way the current Supreme Court is interpreting the First Amendment. They're not giving it, I mean, they wanted to gut it in 1990 for these kinds of things. And the Congress stood up, and people like Ted Kennedy and Chuck Schumer said no, and Clinton signed the law. So all we've done in Indiana is give ourselves a standard that's adopted in 30 states and every court in America called strict scrutiny. It just isn't about same-sex marriage. It's not about individual relationships, and commerce and religious beliefs rarely are in the mix together. It can happen, but it's exceedingly rare.
Just to close with you two gentlemen, I want you both to weigh in on a very fundamental part of this debate. Is the potential benefit of this law proportional to what's already sizing up to be the potential loss? Quick comments from you both, first starting with the councilman.
Well, I believe that perception is everything. And the city council, which is controlled by the Democrats, and our Republican mayor, the one thing that we've been able to agree on almost unanimously is our desire to attract the best and the brightest to our city. This, by overwhelming margins, is telling us that corporations and tech-savvy corporations, they don't want to live or relocate their employees to states that are closed-minded and unwelcoming. And the perception is that this creates a society in Indiana that is unwelcoming and puts their employees at risk. And I don't believe that the overall overarching need for this outweighs the cost that it's going to cost Indiana and most particularly the city of Indianapolis.
Curtis Smith, same question.
You won't be surprised that I disagree. I think it's unfortunate what's happened, and I think it's harmed Indianapolis and Indiana. I blame the other side. We pass a legal standard for courtroom disputes between individuals when government's at the heart of the matter, and suddenly we're an unwelcoming, inhospitable place on the eve of the Final Four, where my son played here 5 years ago. That's outrageous and that's crazy. We want everyone to come to Indiana. We want Apple jobs here. We welcome all. As our governor said, Hoosier hospitality is earned every day. It's not a slogan. This is about religious freedom, and I put that at a higher value than I do economic interests.
Well, I would just like to add one thing, that I would be able to believe that a lot easier if every member or every supporter of the proposal that just passed was also an avid supporter of the marriage discrimination amendment that they were trying to put into the Constitution in the previous years. These are the same people doing the same thing all over again. They can't now come to tell us that this has nothing to do with discriminating against gays and lesbians. They cannot say that.
Zach Adamson and Curtis Smith, gentlemen, thank you both for joining me. As Governor Pence and many of his supporters have pointed out, the U.S. and a lot of states have laws drafted to protect the free exercise of religion without a burden imposed by the state. They've wondered out loud why Indiana's RFRA law is getting so much attention. There are differences. We'll talk about them and about these laws nationwide. Stay with us. It's Inside Story.